Hey, Dr. Mike here. Are your weight loss goals getting the best of you? Maybe you need a different strategy. Stay tuned to learn how with Dr. Jessica Hehmeyer.
You're listening to Live Foreverish, a show dedicated to helping you live just a little longer. Here's your hosts, Dr. Mike and Dr. Crystal Gossard.
Dr. Crystal.
Yes.
Well empowered.
Yes.
That sounds good.
I think so. Feeling well, feeling empowered. The weight loss struggle is so real for so many people, trying to be fit, trying to be healthy, and really struggling.
Yeah. Well, I like it's kind of a play on the word well and wellness. It's like well empowered, like you're well empowered, but then it's like wellness empowered. Like I kind of see both of those there. Well, Dr. Jessica Hehmeyer, she started this whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. She is the physician founder of Well Empowered, where she practices data-driven, like that, outcome-oriented, like that, functional medicine. She created Well Empowered with one commitment in mind, providing you the foundation of health and vitality that transforms your experience of life, and get this part right, and alters what is possible for you. Dr. Hehmeyer, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mike and Dr. Crystal. It's a pleasure to be here with you two.
So you heard that whole conversation about Well Empowered, right?
Yeah, I did.
We like it. It just sounds good. Did you come up with that all yourself, or did you hire a big marketing company?
Oh gosh, no. This was like an aha moment in the shower, right? Literally, in the shower, came up with the idea, wrap the towel around me, grab my phone, go to GoDaddy. Is this domain name available? And it was.
Wow. Very good. That's awesome. So I do want to start off with, I think this is the elephant in the room, right? There is a movement out there. And by the way, we're calling her Dr. H now.
Dr. H.
Dr. H. That's what she said. Dr. H, there's this movement about, what is it? Healthy at any size.
Healthy at every size.
Healthy at every size. And I get kind of where that's coming from, right? But we still have a weight issue at the same time in this country. So I just kind of wanted your take on that. And have you gotten any pushback being a weight loss person, well empowered?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Mike. And to answer that question, I would point to two things. How we would know there's a problem with weight is one of two ways. One is your experience, and two is objective data. Right? Your experience or objective data. And by objective data, I mean research and how your physiology fits into the predictions, not prophecies, but predictions that research makes available. And so between the two of those, if someone is in the obese or morbidly obese category and experientially they are totally fine and happy, okay, that's wonderful. I don't want them to feel badly, but also objectively speaking, we do know they're at an increased risk of myriad health problems and, premature death, right?
You said it perfect. That's exactly what I was thinking, that I don't want people to feel bad.
No.
If somebody's happy at a certain weight, that's great. Celebrate that. But you know what? We can lose a few pounds because that decreases your risk for a lot of things.
Well,
yeah, and fundamentally speaking, sorry, Crystal, but fundamentally speaking, it's really all about people fully bringing their gift to the world. And when you're voting for your health, it means you're voting for your longevity, which means your gift shines for longer. And really feeling great. Decreased health challenges also affects your capacity to bring your unique gift to the world.
Yeah.
Right. And one thing I would like to say to those of you who are listening and just think you shouldn't focus on weight loss. One reason I felt it was important for you to come on is because you incorporate a personalized approach, the functional medicine approach. And I know we'll get into some of the details of your approach, but every individual who comes to your practice, I'm sure you look at them as a person and you identify and help them, partner with them to identify what's what's needed for them versus just having blanket guidelines.
Yeah.
You need to be here.
Lose weight.
This is the BMI that you need to where you need to be. And I think that's the missing component. And I think that the Healthy at Every Size movement is trying to get practitioners, doctors, nutritionists, dietitians to that place where they can look at the individual and treat them as an individual.
Right.
So I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah.
And it should be that way.
It
right?
absolutely should. We are all, what's the saying? You are totally and completely unique, just like everybody else.
Yeah, right. Yes, it's true. It's funny
really
to me that
true.
it's taken medicine, the weight loss industry, and many other health industries so long to realize that we are unique. That a personalized approach, like what's good for you, may not work for me. You know,
right.
So I'm glad to see that's what you do at Well Empowered. You mentioned she has a personal experience, right?
Yes, you do. And I was curious if you would just share your personal experience with the weight loss roller coaster that so many people find themselves on. The roller coaster, the big dips.
Yes.
Oh
and
my
then the
gosh.
creeping up.
I did it. And then 2 months later, I gotta lose weight again.
So can you tell us about your personal experience?
Absolutely. It would be my pleasure. And I hope, your listeners, I hope you hear something useful in my sharing for you. So for me, I had struggled with my weight and, riding the weight loss roller coaster for about a dozen years. And I was in my kind of later 20s. I grew up dancing. So the weight struggles, I would say, occurred at a slightly earlier age than some of the other people who I encountered, just given by the dynamics of being a dancer. I had gone through periods of what I like to call now all or nothing, right? Deprivation or overindulgence, this back and forth between the two. Mm-hmm. And there were a number of line in the sand moments, but I'll share one line in the sand moment with all of you. And that was, I was about 27 years old and I was standing in my kitchen in my apartment in Chicago in Lincoln Park. And I was standing there in one hand, I had this glass of kind of like sludge in it. And in the other hand, I had my keys. And the sludge, this was the remnants of the master cleanse for anyone, some of you got, yeah, right. Crystal, you know what I'm talking about, right? There's
I've done it, been there.
Yes, totally. There's like lemon and cayenne pepper and maple syrup. And I don't even know, whatever shenanigans were in there. Right. And then, so that was, what I just consumed. And then my other hand had my car keys because yeah. One more thing that was going on there was this noise. It was kind of like,
your stomach?
That was my stomach. Yeah, exactly. Because I was starving. Yeah, go figure. Right. So my keys were going to solve that growling stomach by going to McDonald's and get a McFlurry because that's what you do when you're starving. You go get a McFlurry. Right. And so it was like this in the moment. Oh my gosh, this is so broken. Yeah. Aha moment, right? This deprivation, I've already tried this over and over and over again for a dozen years, does not work. And also this screw it, let's go get a McFlurry, doesn't really work either. Mm-hmm. There's got to be another way forward, right? Yeah. And I also, in that period of time on my journey, what really woke me up to a whole new approach that I now call mastering your middle ground was getting the impact of this struggle for me. For me, it was interfering with my ability to be fully present with the people in my life. It was interfering with my ability to fully contribute because I was in my head. I wasn't feeling great about myself. I was, concerned with how I looked or didn't look or what I ate or didn't eat and all these different things. And I was like, no. My life is not going on like that. My life is supposed to be about so much more. And so I made a deal with the universe and, all of you might have your own name for the universe, but I'm just going to call it the universe and, said, really it was, if you help me navigate this area of my life, I will devote my life to helping others. And it became a journey that really was equally grounded in science as well as cultivating compassion and learning how to navigate from a place of self-love rather than a place of self-aggression. And,
nice.
that's my story.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think a lot of listeners relate to that all or nothing kind of like, I don't even know if it's an approach. It's just, kind of how we do things. It's low carb and then you get where you want to get. And then now it's high carb, and low calorie, you get where you want to get. Now all of a sudden it turns around the very next day. It is high calorie. And that's that up and up and up and down. So I kind of I like your story. And I think a lot of people relate to that.
Yeah. Yes. So as you went through down this journey, of course, then you became a chiropractor and a CNS and an LDN.
Got my master's of science in nutrition and functional medicine. Yes, all the stuff.
So all of that kind of came after that aha moment.
Oh, wow.
That's exactly. Cool. Yes, it did. And because what I really saw was to honor my word, to really make my life about helping others, I needed to deeply understand science, right? Yes. Because just like you were saying, Mike, like, okay, what works for me doesn't necessarily work for you. So if I can understand physiology, if I can understand science, I can understand how your body is going to best respond. What are your unique metabolic barriers? What are your points of leverage? How can we support you in your healing journey?
Yeah, I guess so. You must, when a client comes to you, you obviously start with that. First of all, let's get rid of that all or nothing mentality, right?
And unfortunately, I've not yet discovered a surgery that does that.
Right.
No. It does happen over time. It does.
Yeah, for sure. No, I get that. Yeah, I mean, because you're dealing with people who've been living in the all or nothing for their entire lives.
Yeah,
absolutely. Right? Exactly.
So you have to start. So obviously that's where
it's like the water they're swimming in. It's like, oh my gosh. Oh, maybe there's a different snake oil that will work here,
So you start there, right? That must be step one. But then, like, what do you do next? Like, what is there something that most people aren't doing or that they need to do to really get on a good path to a healthier weight?
I would say there are a few different answers to that. So I'll kind of lay out a few things that are really crucial to someone transforming their relationship with themselves and their body and food such that they are able to author their unique journey and produce outcomes and sustain them like they never have before. And so, part of letting go of the broken all or nothing approach includes authoring one's intention for their health and their life. And what I mean by that is, we don't buy what we do, we buy why we do it. And that's looking at like, okay, there are plenty of things we've all done that if we were just looking at the actual actions by themselves, they're not super compelling. Whether it's like pulling an all-nighter for school or waking up in the middle of the night to tend to kiddo, all of, those different things, like not super compelling, but there's a huge why behind them, right? There's love, there's devotion, there's inspiration to contribute, whatever's there for you. There is a why. And if you think about it, it'll pretty quickly come to mind. But in this area of health, many people are not immediately connected to their why. Why is your health so important to you? Why is it so important to you to master this area of your life? What would it make available? And so that is one of the things we do in engaging in this work. And what I really do see as a sacred journey is people giving words to their intention for their health and their life. To me, it lives like it's always been there, and they're really just giving words to it for the first time. Now there's that part of it, but then of course there is the gathering of data, like lab tests, like understanding, scientifically speaking, what is going on in your body, so that we're not taking a one-size-fits-all approach to moving ahead, but we're really being targeted according to what we see in your body.
I love that. So what are some of those labs that you typically run?
Well, when it comes to weight, a lot of the people who I work with, weight is a big part of what they do, what they're coming to me to really shift and transform. But certainly there are people who come to me with digestive distress or energy challenges or hormones gone wackadoodle or fertility, But when we're specifically speaking about weight, there are a few common barriers that are missed, right? Like they just aren't caught. And while I do know a lot of people are like crossing their fingers that it's their thyroid, it's like, oh my gosh, please let it be my thyroid.
hormonal.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. It's probably not.
Not the Burger King. It's my thyroid.
Exactly. Definitely not. It's the thyroid. But here's the thing: is like, even if it's the thyroid, it's not just the thyroid. Or I should say, I've never seen it just be the thyroid. Never once have I ever seen it just be the thyroid. And sometimes the thyroid absolutely needs to be supported before we can address other things. So, so of course, yes, comprehensive thyroid assessment. But beyond that, inflammation is a huge barrier to weight loss. And so we can measure inflammation. Sometimes people arrive at my virtual front door and they tell me they feel inflamed, right? Maybe, and I'll ask them, okay, how's it showing up in your body? And they'll say, oh, I'm bloated, or my joints hurt, or I'm breaking out, or whatever they have to say. But, most of the time, people don't have any symptoms of inflammation. The only reason we know there is a chronic inflammatory response going on is because we do the labs. Labs do not lie. So, different inflammatory markers, HSCRP, high sensitivity C-reactive protein, homocysteine. There are some that are more heart specific that we might dig into as well. But those on a systemic level, those are two that I'm definitely going to be looking at.
What about, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So do you also look at cortisol and the role that plays with increasing glucose and fat storage and kind of that stress response and emotional eating?
Sometimes, not always, but sometimes.
Okay.
So really it's about like what is needed for this person in front of me. So yes, absolutely. Sometimes I do look at it, but not always. Sometimes I find it more useful to do a comprehensive assessment of the microbiome, right? There's so much great literature on how the microbiome affects someone's metabolism. And so it really is dealing with the person in front of me. What information do I believe is going to be the most actionable at this point in time? And we might always, we might layer something in the future. I just got off the phone, from an appointment about an hour ago with a woman who were like, okay, now, we've been working together for about 4 months. She's doing great work. She's lost about 20 pounds. And we're going to layer in just what you said, Crystal. We're going to layer in an adrenal assessment. We're going to layer in a sex hormone assessment because now we're ready for more information that is now actionable for her.
Yeah. So I like the way you're kind of framing this, that there are things that could be going on inside somebody's body. It could be some hormonal issues. There could be inflammatory issues. There could be some insulin resistant, all these kind of things. None of those by themselves are necessarily a problem. But when you put it all together, if you're not taking care of these things, you're making it really tough for yourself to try to lose some weight. Right?
Yeah. And I think the other thing to that, Dr. Mike, is so many people, they try and they're not going to Burger King and they're just stuck. And then they begin to feel like, it's them and they're a failure. And it's good to kind of see those labs because it takes it away from them and let them know this is a metabolic concern that is going on. And we may need to intervene in different places. It may be more than just you, cutting calories.
Right.
That's not always the answer.
Right. That's really good. Dr. H, a quick question for you. Going back to the idea of, getting rid of that all or nothing, mentality, whatever. There was something, I think, Dr. Crystal, you've talked about this before, and I might be saying it wrong. Food noise?
Yeah.
Wait, is that what that is?
That's it.
What, Dr. H, how does that play into all of this? And what is it? What do you mean What do you mean by it?
In Dr. Crystal, you feel free to take the horn on this one, but Food noise is really, it's when people all day long are ruminating about food, fundamentally speaking, what they're eating, what they're not eating, what they're going to eat, all those different things. And actually, to your point, I have an upcoming webinar called Food Noise in the Holidays. I don't know that there's a time of year when food noise is louder for most people than the holidays. And that includes alcohol, of course. I'm going to pop that in there too. But yeah, starting to shift that involves a number of different things. It's not just a perspective shift, but it's an environmental shift, and it's also a physiological shift. It's tapping into all the different things that are required to have someone ultimately feeling satiated with what they're eating and start to reduce the cravings. And some of that has to do with, it can be caused by microbes, right? We know that yeast drive cravings. They're smart little buggers, right? They know what they need to survive. They need sugar and simple carbs. So they hijack your brain and, kick in that food noise and turn up that volume to the loudest they can on the dial. And, good luck with that.
So true. And so what would you say to that person who is feeling overwhelmed? Maybe they are experiencing the food noise and they just don't know where to start.
Like they're stuck.
Yeah, they're stuck.
Yeah. Well, first of all, my encouragement would really be to invite them to have compassion for themselves, right? This is a very difficult area of life. And if they need any evidence of it, they just need to look around or look at the huge diet industry or, walk into a bookstore and see what the shelves are filled with, right? So firstly is really having compassion for yourself. And then secondly is stepping into an inquiry and really asking yourself and trusting your wisdom in your answer to the question, what is the best choice I can make right now? What is the best choice I can make right now? And it might even be, what is the best choice I'm willing to make right now? And being in that inquiry rather than the all or nothing approach, right? If people will have different answers based on where they are in their journey, and that's totally fine, right? For some people, the best choice they can make is having 3 pieces of pizza versus 5. Awesome. If that's the best choice you're willing to make right now, I'm going to cheer loud and proud for you. Someone else, it might be something totally different. It might be, okay, the best choice I can make right now is making sure I get some veggies on my plate. Someone else, the best choice, it might be, I'm going to move for 20 minutes. Even though I wanted to move for 60 minutes, I only have 20. Work got in the way. My family got in the way. Life got in the way. But instead of saying, I'm not going to move at all, I'm going to take these 20 minutes and enjoy moving for these 20 minutes, right? So what's the best game I can play right now can really go a long way.
That's good.
I love that. And I
that.
would add to that, the best choice that you can make that's one, not extreme, and that you think that you can maintain.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah.
Something that
you can keep doing.
Can be sustainable and just realistic in the space where you are in that moment.
Yeah. I like that. Said. Be nice to yourself. Because, as humans, we tend to get stuck in a lot of things. It's not just weight. It could be job, career, whatever. We get stuck and we start saying mean things to ourselves. It's kind of like, no, be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. You can do things to improve, but be nice.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. Hey, Dr. H, is there a website or, a phone number or whatever about Well Empowered you'd like to give to the listening audience?
Yes, absolutely. You can come to see me at wellempowered.com and a few different invitations for your listeners. If you schedule a complimentary consultation, please be sure to let me know where you heard about me because you will get 10% off if you do decide to move ahead. So first we chat, I learn about you, you learn about what it looks like to work together, and if it feels like a good fit, then make sure you let me know where you came from because you get 10% off. Also, I will, as I mentioned, I'm going to be having some upcoming webinars. So you can, register, you'll find a little pop-up there where you can put your email in and get notified of upcoming gatherings. And then on Instagram at Well Empowered, I show up there sometimes too.
That's great.
Awesome.
That's great.
And your practice it's a virtual practice. So
It
anyone
is. Exactly.
from all over.
Anywhere,
Okay.
all over the world. You can come see me.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're listening to Dr. Jessica Hehmeyer. She is the physician founder of Well Empowered. And, just to we usually like to end our interviews by just asking, give our audience the take home message about all the different things we just discussed. I know that kind of puts you on the spot a little bit, but just what's that message you want our listeners to keep today?
Okay, a few different things. One is, I would say, my encouragement and invitation is to get clear on why your health is so important to you. So that's one thing. And one way you might do that is by actually doing a little time traveling exercise and writing the future you intend for your health and your life. Okay, so why is your health so important to you? And two is really knowing that your physiology is unique. So if you feel like you are beating your head against the wall over and over again and are not getting outcomes, there is something metabolically, there is something physiologically in your way. So whether it's with me or Dr. Crystal or Dr. Mike or some other, wonderful practitioner, there are lots out there. My encouragement is to learn what is going on in your body so that you can move beyond it. And then three is, being kind to yourself and really being gentle, putting one foot in front of the other and making changes that will serve you and your health and your life.
That's great. Dr. H, I feel better having you on the show. I feel nice and relaxed and calm. Dr. Crystal just gets me all riled up. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. We appreciate it.
It's been such a pleasure. Thank you, Dr. Crystal. Thank you, Dr. Mike, for the work you do.
So our sponsor, Life Extension, because we have such a great audience, Dr. Crystal, our sponsor, Life Extension, wants to give you 10% off $50 plus free shipping and handling at lifeextension.com. All you got to do is go to lifeextension.com, buy whatever you want to buy, great products, science-based, right, high quality, and at the cart, you just put the discount code podcast. That's Simple. It. Podcast, 10% off, $50 or more. That's pretty good. Lifeextension.com. But don't forget, we have another website, liveforeverish.com, where you can download and listen to tons of episodes there. Like, share, comment. We'd love to hear from you.
Subscribe.
So you never miss a show. That's liveforeverish.com. I'm Dr. Mike. That's
Dr. Crystal.
Thanks for listening.